Right. A warm welcome to all of you to us at Drive Sweden, together with our friends at Bzzt and Clean Motion for our lunch and learn. And just a couple of rules before we get started to make sure that this webinar is a success is that please make sure that your microphone is muted. And we encourage you to all ask lots of questions. And please keep your camera turned off so we can ensure enough bandwidth. And if you have troubles with connecting, please try and run the lunch and learn through your web browser. So I hope you're all ready to get started. And we will start off by just having a look at the agenda. So today we will be focusing on new modes of transport to tackle urban challenges. And with us today, we have Marcus Svensson at Bzzt and Christoffer Sveder at Clean Motion. And basically how this will be running today is that I will just provide you with a short introduction to Drive Sweden for those of you that are new to us. And then this will follow by a couple of short questions to Marcus and Christoffer to set the scene. And then we will get two presentations around Bzzt and Clean Motion. Then we all encourage you, and also during the presentations, to write your questions. And this is basically so we also have lots of interesting dialogues during the Q&A. So just to get started, Drive Sweden is one of 17 strategic innovation programs, and we work with digital, automated and shared mobility systems. Now, Drive Sweden exists to ensure that Sweden takes a leading role in creating future mobility systems for people and goods that are sustainable, safe and accessible for all. And how we're able to do this is basically by demonstrating and testing new types of solutions that show us efficient, connected and automated transport systems. And this wouldn't be possible without our great finances, where we have support from Vinnova, the Swedish Energy Agency, together with Formas. Now, to be able to test and demonstrate all of these fantastic solutions, we wouldn't be able to do that without our partners. So on the picture here, you can see all of our fantastic partners within different areas of the mobility system. So just to guide your view a bit here, we have to the left, the academia. At the top, we have our OEMs. And in the middle, we have service providers. And at the bottom, you have many of the newest mobility actors on the market. We also have to the right cities and consultancy agencies, together with telecom and banks. And today, this is one of our program activities, which is basically how we capture knowledge from our partners and from our viewers, and also spread the information and knowledge we have from our partners. And basically, our program activities are very important to feed into our project portfolios, as we are able to fund different types of projects. This means that we have running different types of strategic projects, which are reviewed each month. And we also have an annual open call in relation to a new topic each year. And some other examples of our program activities is basically when we have reports then from our projects and partners who share their experience of what they've learned through the Drive Sweden network and through the Drive Sweden project. So without further ado, we will jump straight into today's agenda. And this we will be doing by asking a couple of questions to our great speakers here, Marcus and Christoffer. A warm welcome to you both. Happy to have you here with us.
Thank you very much, Josephine. I'm really happy to be here and get the opportunity to talk to all of you.
And I wanted to start with a couple of questions to you both. You'll both be able to tell us more about what you're doing. But basically, just to set the scene, we've all been seeing that these few years, the e-commerce has been a hot topic. Everyone's been talking about the rapid increase of parcels and trucks and everything in our cities. A question to you both is, what are the big changes we've seen basically from these 2 years? And what changes do you think will stay with us for a long time moving forward? Marcus, do you want to start?
Yes. So I'm not sure I could scope my answer down to just the last 2 years, but we can see like the post boxes being reinvented by Instabox and Budbee. We can see, for example, Gordon deliveries making cold deliveries to the door. But of course, we can also see really, really fast and rapid deliveries within the cities. And thinking of, for example, food deliveries and a lot of things that's really have boomed, I would say, the last 2 years, where you can get hot food directly to your door. And I would say the biggest difference, that is like the consumer view of it, and but the biggest difference is like how they are really distributed, I think, and distributed and prepared. I mean, we can see dark stores, we can see dark kitchens. Things are really prepared for those instant deliveries within cities, and I think that we could expect really fast and instant deliveries keeping that will stay, but also that it could actually be adopted within other kinds of deliveries, except for just hot food deliveries. And that's what I'm thinking.
I'm heading over to you, Christoffer.
Yes, and I couldn't agree more. I think that there's been a tremendous increase in the number of service providers in this field. And as you said, the food stuff is really where the big money is spent now, and where they're popping up new types of service companies all the time. But I see also a shift where maybe retailers go into the same sort of business model, and starting up warehouses in micro settings for a variety of goods, not just food delivery, and also going into to other retailers looking at how could they transform their current way of working in terms of their physical stores, moving away from physical stores into online shopping, and try to combine that. I see that is where the discussion is going to be the coming years, at least. But when we talk about this topic, I think we talk about the quick commerce and the instant delivery thing, but isn't that just a sort of result on because home deliveries is nothing new. It's just that it's been increasing a lot, and on the terms where home deliveries are done mostly now is that you need to block your whole day in order to actually get the things. So I think the instant delivery is sort of a response to that instead of waiting, you can just, because there's no way for those service providers to adjust. So the new providers coming into the market says, okay, but we can deliver instantly. That's one way to solve the problem. I don't know if you guys, Marcus, if you agree, you are a service provider.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, and I also think that this possibility to enable that kind of deliveries aren't really utilized. So it's like the hen and the egg. What comes first? And I think this is something that we should offer to, or that the market is looking for. Just referring to a friend 2 days ago, he said, can I work from home? I'm expecting to collect something from Elgiganten in between 8 and 7. When we're like, of course, it's no problem. But so I really agree to what you say, Christoffer. And also think it's another component to it that we don't talk so much about, but if there are instant, it means that there's also opening up a lot of opportunity to be timely, so that the customer, could decide what point in time do I want to receive the package.
Exactly.
So it's both things here, and in an instant delivery kind approach to it, you should ideally do both.
And when we're discussing instant, we're discussing customer centric. Marcus, you mentioned dark store, quick commerce. There are a lot of different ways of spinning on what's coming. I mean, with these new types of very customer centric and flexible deliveries, can that marry with sustainability, or how do these two future goals sort of marry together? If we start with you, Marcus, and then Christoffer.
Yeah, I could go on a really long time with this question, but I will try to keep down. So, of course, I think we could. I don't see that we do it today. And thinking of scoping it down to really fast and instant deliveries, I see that we're not really good at that today. I think that everyone listening here have been out walking and smelled the emissions from a fuel moped. Still 65% of all the instant deliveries that is done basically by the big food delivery companies are still made by mopeds driven on fuel, on gasoline. And they also like missing the catalysator. So it's not only CO2, it's actually really, really bad emissions still out there in our cities that we try to make fossil free. So, I mean, we really need the consumer and the retailers to take a responsibility and really demand environmentally friendly ways of transporting the goods, especially if they would like to have this kind of service, not only delivering fast things, but delivering a lot of things and continue with the e-commerce as their preferred way of shopping. So there's so many ways of how to tackle this problem, and I think it always boils down to the consumer and the retailers to take the responsibility together with the city.
I'm Christoffer, then heading over to you. I mean, you have a new solution, especially tackling this discussion. What view do you have on this? Is it possible?
Yeah, of course. And I think the view is that we have a driving force. We can call it e-commerce or combined with instant deliveries, etc. But the key thing is that the consumer want things on their own premises, but nobody knows actually how to do this because it's such a complex topic because it involves so many different things. Just take a city, for example. It's sort of a potpourri of interactions. You have the things rolling around in the city. It could be on 2 wheels, 3 wheels, or 4 wheels. You have the people who live there and people who work in there, and people have to move themselves and have to move goods around. So I think the topic is very complex and nobody really don't know anything. And I think that is the key question here. So when we talk about new modes of transport, transport is just a mean. Sort of, we need to have something in one place and then it needs to be in another place. Then we have transport, moving the things. It could be persons or it could be goods. But I mean, as city goes denser and becomes more populated, everything, the space is, we're running out of space. We can call it that. So I don't have a straight answer on the question. I don't think there is one.
Well, thank you so much for your first answers here. And this is basically just for all of you listening to paint up the reality we're living at the moment and what's to come. So we're basically setting the scene both for Bzzt and for Clean Motion here, who will just hold their presentations around their new solutions to tackle the problems we've just been discussing. So with that, Marcus, would you please take the floor and tell us more about Bzzt?
Yes. Let me share my screen. Right. So Josephine, could you please confirm it's looking good?
Looks great.
Thank you. So we are Bzzt. I'm the CTO at Bzzt. We launched in 2017 with electric small vehicles in Stockholm. We are quite famous for being the pod taxi. What's the word? We are the cool-looking small vehicles that looks funny in the city center. And since we started, we made over 100,000 trips. But right now, we are really focused on instant last mile deliveries, and we're currently present in the 3 biggest cities in Sweden. So Malmö, Gothenburg, and Stockholm. So a bit more, who really are we? And I will read this straight off for you to make it really clear. We are the flexible, smart, and lovable intercity courier. We make it possible for others to offer fast deliveries within cities. We make up the infrastructure that enable fast deliveries for restaurants, stores, e-commerce in an environmental friendly way with the aid of great couriers. We have mainly 3 focus segments for the instant deliveries. We have food, groceries, and e-commerce. The food segments is basically like delivering directly from the restaurants. Could be a fast McDonald's chain, could be a nice fresh store in the city center, delivering great salads. It could be the fine dining place based in the nicer part of Stockholm. The thing is that we deliver the food still hot in our pods in almost no time. And then we have the groceries. Here you can see the 2, basically one of the 2 biggest in the 2 biggest in Sweden. For them, we can offer like deliveries. For example, if they would like to deliver a banana, a Red Bull, 1 liter of milk to the consumer, we can offer them to deliver a bag with food, basically, and also that in like no really short delivery times. And then we have the e-commerce segment. Here our focus is this is the focus, our newest segment, I would say, where we see also that we need some kind of maybe way of enable this service for the e-commerce sites a bit more. I'm talking about hubs, and we'll go more into that later. But basically what we could do is make it possible for stores like big e-commerce stores, smaller local stores, to offer their products online and get them delivered in really close, really short in time. So how does it work? Really easy from my point of view, but the consumer goes into the e-commerce platform, website, or app, however they like. The consumer chooses a product, they choose home delivery, and the site is connected to this system through an API, and they talk to each other. They find an appropriate time that the consumer also can confirm. And when it's when the order should be delegated to a rider, it goes directly to the rider, and they could, in such a way, we can offer an instant delivery service all the way to the customer. Going through all these steps, we could have actually something delivered in 10 to 20 minutes from that the consumer says that they want it to it's actually at their door. So then do you ask, how the hell do you do that? We can do it if we are in the right place at the right time. And to increase the likelihood of being at the right place at the right time, you need to have the best prerequisite. And we constantly hunt the most effective infrastructure, and we hunt the solutions for the best possible infrastructure all the time. But the prerequisite of having that is having being present, highly present in a city center. We need to be really well distributed and strategically planned our locations for our garage, ways of charging, and have everything connected to a software that can make all the decisions. In such a way, we'll have really short times all the time to wherever we want to go. And to make it really like smooth all the way and really efficient, then we have smooth and safe access to garage. We need, of course, to have small electric and energy efficient vehicles for the cities. We need to have smart and distributed chargers and user-friendly app that could collect everything, every decision that is taken by the software and present it to the driver in a user-friendly way to make their work really, really efficient. But also we need, of course, access to the pickup places. That could be a delivery hub. It could be a pickup from a local store. But being connected here is the key to make it really, really efficient and make the software taking all the necessary decisions to deliver things in 10 to 20 minutes. So going a bit deeper into the delivery hubs, this slide is just an illustrative picture. We see that there's a big need of delivery hubs within city centers where we could enable, make it possible for big e-commerce companies to offer their products in a really, really short in time. We also see that there's a need of a way of a place where the couriers that actually do the work, to find a community, to find a place where they could be at break, take a coffee, hang out with each other, to feel proud of where they're working and have a good working conditions. With that said, I would like to take the opportunity to tell you that we are looking for more talents to our headquarters in Gothenburg. We're looking for data scientists, technical operations manager, deployment manager, backend developers. And please contact me if you know someone or if you are the right person. Last but not least, we are also seeking partners to build our next generation of vehicle. We are looking for a really flexible vehicle where we can combine both instant deliveries and taxi trips, and in such a way consolidate everything, every single, have a vehicle that is optimized to take every kind of task there is present on the street, more or less. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. And we have a couple of questions, but we will bring them up after Christoffer's presentation as well. So thank you for now, Marcus. And over to you, Christoffer.
Thank you, Josephine, and thank you, Marcus, for sharing the new way of doing Bzzt. Just gonna put my screen on here, see if it's possible to share something for you.
And Christoffer, we can't see you right now.
I'm unable to start video. You can't start video because the host has stopped it.
Okay, well, there you are, and we can see your screen. So please.
Thank you. Great. My name is Christoffer, and I'm the commercial director at Clean Motion. We are a company founded roughly 10 years ago, or 12. The time flies, especially the 2 last years. We are a public traded company situated just outside Gothenburg in Jonsered, and we come from the automotive industry with our founders and the majority of the board, with the key thing that we are built around is energy efficiency. So the picture you can see here on the slide is actually my colleague William in 2011 trying the first CB prototype, trying the electronic system. But really what we try to achieve is clean city and urban spaces by utilizing energy efficient and sustainable mobility solutions. And we do it because I mean, electrification it's not sustainable. It's in itself, and this will not be the thing that saves the world. You need to do a lot of other things. I mean, there's so much carbon emission going into creating stuff, and a car is a lot of stuff combined together and put on the wheel. So that combined with the actual fact that big cars uses 95% of the energy to transport themselves. It doesn't matter if it's electricity or if it's gasoline powered the vehicle. It's 95% of the energy goes into the move the container, which is quite fascinating when you think about it, especially for a lot of contexts where we on the daily usage of cars. And of course, the charging infrastructure, it will be a challenge if we're just gonna electrify as is. I mean, big batteries requires a lot of power to be recharged, and this is sort of like this boils down everything that we try to do. And as I said, energy efficiency is the key here. We need to have lighter vehicles, and the way we have done it is through our first vehicle, the CB. And Marcus showed you a couple of slides. They started off with the CB. They really, I tend to think about it as because this topic is about new modes of transportation and partnerships, and how will the future become. And I mean, we started off together, so to say. We started off in the same small town outside of Gothenburg, and it was a partnership from the beginning. But they learned quite early on that they need to communicate with so many people and places and garages and cities and customers. And from our point, we just had their relationship. But as everything has sort of evolved from where we were 12 years ago, when I mean, electric cars were barely existing at that time, and our venture was sort of looked at as very, very strange. I don't think it's very strange at that time, and I think a lot of people think it start to catch up what we're doing. But going back to the delivery scene and what we've done, we've created the CB, which is mainly a passenger version of vehicle, because the urban delivery and home delivery wasn't that big at that time. But I think somewhere around 2017 or so, there was an increase in home delivery. It started really off at that point, and has peaked really during the pandemic. And we know this because a lot of customers and people asked us, couldn't you make a cargo version of this vehicle? And we said, yeah, we can do it. So we did a CB cargo, and we learned quite fast that even though we did a cargo which was sort of ideal for what they said they were going to use it for, it was always something that has to be changed. It was something that wasn't really right. It was everything from how to open the door, how the volume, the weight of the cargo, and everything in between. So we thought that we've done this before. Why not really? Why can't we do it again and really take all the advantages and the learnings we've done from CB and the CB cargo process, and really think about the ecosystem, all the interaction points that are interacting with such a vehicle, especially in a city. So we designed and presented Revolt in September, which is our latest edition of vehicles. And it's purely designed to be a delivery vehicle. But what I mean by delivery is a vehicle that can handle goods primarily. So it could even be hot and cold options. We are looking into, is a pickup sufficient? Is there ways to have different cockpit setup depending on what type of delivery you are aiming to do? Because what we learned on is, you can say you have a delivery vehicle, but there's so much different deliveries. And I think Bzzt really showed that if you're going to be an actor a player in this field, in the city, you need to be really like a Swiss Army knife and be able to take on a lot of different delivery missions. And we thought that yeah, we try to optimize volume and weight and see where we land. But quite early on, we said that now we need to bring the customers on, and what we really try to do is we thought that we would need to bring the customers on in this journey, because as I used to say, we do electric vehicles and we're really good at it, especially small and energy efficient vehicles. But the delivery scene in the cities are so different. So we need to really bring the customers in, or other partners in our final steps of the development to really have their input to see what kind of solutions are important in their operations. Because in this field, there are so many players having that are stakeholders in a delivery operation. Everything from micro hub facility owners to the delivery couriers to the customers. And going back to the whole discussion here, we see that partnerships are the future here, and we are actually bringing along, we have this vehicle is going to roll out, just for reference, by the end of the year, and we have roughly 10 partners that are joining us from different business verticals in order to finalize this, finalize the vehicle and pilot this in various businesses that we're doing. But the key thing here that I try to share with you guys is what we're doing is energy efficiency on wheels, basically, an urban mobility solution. But in order to do that, we need to collaborate with partners like Bzzt, with facility owners, with IoT companies, with anyone actually interacting with vehicles in a city. So with that said, I think I'm done, and I'm looking forward for the questions. Actually, that's my favorite part of today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christoffer and Marcus, for great presentations. And just as Christoffer mentioned, we'll now be having a Q&A, and I see that there are already a couple of questions that have come in. And great, Christoffer, if you stopped sharing your slides as well. So great, very good. And we'll start off the Q&A, but please, the second you get a new question you want to ask to Marcus and Christoffer, just put it in the chat, and we'll try and get ahead of that. So we'll start off by the first question, which was actually around managing micro hubs and dark stores. And you mentioned it previously as well, Marcus. What are the best solutions for last mile deliveries? Is it these micro hubs and dark stores, or what are your experiences?
I mean, I've seen many different solutions to it, and I think it should be really tailored about what kind of things that you aim to distribute. For example, if in some ways there are like the restaurants themselves that actually make the food in this kind of dark kitchen in some kind of basement or whatever. Or there is a supermarket, for example, at Foodora, they have their dark stores. The interesting thing is that I haven't really seen anything that is a partnership where they share this kind of facilities to provide, I mean, food in a really short time. And I mean, in some cases, there's just a need to warehouse things. And I mean, we can, I mean, the drivers could basically go directly into a local store on the street and say, and check up, you can check up the status. Is there something, is the product available on that store? And they go in and pick it, and they pick it up and go directly to the consumer. So, I mean, that's my experience of different kinds of dark stores and dark kitchens and ways of picking up things in the city centers really fast.
So if I'm understanding, what you're saying, Marcus, is that we need to start seeing combined micro hubs, not separate dark stores from different companies.
Yes, I think a lot of companies have a lot to gain of starting partnerships here, either together with us or together with collectively by themselves. But we need for sure something here to have the infrastructure complete in the city centers to realize.
And I'm thinking, when you mention infrastructure, I know, Christoffer, you were mentioning infrastructure as well to test new vehicles, new attributes. We need these partnerships to understand what type of support infrastructure these new modes of transport need. I mean, how do we develop those partnerships? How do we work closely together to get the infrastructure in place, such as micro hubs or charging, what you mentioned?
Start with sitting in the same room and start sharing without the fear of I don't know, fear of losing potential business. I really think this field, I mean, no player, we talk about we need to have consolidated micro hubs. And I think it's one point of it is because it's not financially viable to have your own micro hub. But it creates a lot of challenges. I mean, just take brand awareness for example. Two companies might not even want to share the same micro hub. So I really think to have a neutral place as a joint for this sort of deliveries that we're talking about here, I think it's very important. But from a partner point, I think the only way to move forward is to start talking about the topic like we're doing now, and start sharing, and don't be afraid to don't really try to say, but show your books with open books and open minds, because we need to change the way we're doing things now.
And I think in relation to partnerships and modes of transport and so on, you also mentioned, Marcus, the possibility of combining groceries, e-commerce, and people. How do you see that these are combined when you have different courier services using your infrastructure and software? I mean, how do those types of partnerships function? How do we get to consolidating these transports?
You of course need to have a way to get everything into one single system, so that system are aware of what demands are and what modes of transportation the specific tasks are requiring, and then they send out an appropriate vehicle. Either that is two different vehicles or it's one vehicle, and that could do both. So I think that just having everything, I mean, the key is to have every information available for the system to make smart decisions. And in that way, you have the opportunity to combine. And so I think that is not really the technical issue here. It's not like really the bigger problem. I think it's the bigger problem is how to make sure that everyone don't want pizza at the same time on Friday nights, or how to make sure that people don't want to travel after work or to work, and so that we could, in a way, even out the demand during a day, and in such a way having the order stock more constant. It will for sure never be constant. And in that way, you also need to be really good at handling how many drivers and couriers that are out there during hourly, not during the day, but during each hour each day. So you can manage it in both ends, and that is like also, I mean, a bigger task, and consolidating taxi rides, different kinds of transportations is the key to find a stable inflow of orders all the time.
And just heading back to, you said you need a specific view to start being able to do that. Is that you showed a system of how your services connect these different dots? Is that a role you will be having, or will there be many different players having that role?
I mean, in this infrastructure I showed you, it's everything doesn't have to be controlled by one single player. And I don't think so. And as we said, it should be a partnerships between those hubs, definitely. It could be between vehicles as well. I mean, we could, for example, why couldn't we use voice scooters or Tiers scooters? Why couldn't they share the garage and charge their vehicles in the same garage as we do? So with that said, we could both share like hubs for delivering things. We could share garage for storing things and charging things. We can also, to a certain degree, also share the vehicle we are using. I mean, for some kind of deliveries, we just need a bag. Look at the street. There are Foodora riders taking the voice all the day, especially here in Gothenburg. It's really, really common. The key thing is that everything has to talk to each other so that the system can make informed decisions. And so the system can make smart decisions to make the route efficient, to know when the charge of the vehicle is going to an end and you need to change vehicle or swap battery. It needs to be, of course, aware of what orders are coming in and take all the necessary decisions to guide the courier or the driver during their day. So it was not, I think, I hope I addressed your question. It's definitely everything has to be talking to each other, but the rest is, why not partner up?
And Christoffer, heading over to you, there have been a couple of questions about the moped base of the different solutions that we've seen today. Would you like to describe a bit more why it's important to have that sort of shape and form of the solutions? And you mentioned tough with space. Is that a reason, or?
Well, there's many reasons why you choose different sort of vehicle categories. But I think if you're just gonna go back a little bit in the discussion and think about the cities in itself, and what we're currently doing with cities now is that we're just packing it with different stuff. It's everything from kick scooters to mopeds to cars to trucks, and I think there's definitely a trend using cargo bikes for deliveries. Bikes is super cool and super good for the planet, but I think we need to look at this as it is a complex. We talked about it a lot. We need partnership. It's complex, but what we really need to do is we need to have the look at this from a system perspective and in the long term. Like 20 years from now, how does the city need to evolve, and what kind of vehicles do we see in cities? And we can talk about everything from vehicle safety to space and in interaction with partners and everything, but really to have the long perspective. Because if the solution is we're going to use, I think if we take the kick scooters for an example, we saw that started to flood the street and we started regulate it. We thought this is not good. We did it only. It was a reactive sort of decision. We didn't have this plan, and I don't know if you can plan for that sort of transition that happened in basically 2 years. But I think if we're gonna look at vehicles driving in a city, no matter if it's a bicycle or if it's a sort of, our vehicles are moped classed and motorcycle classed, I don't think the classification per se is the key topic here. It is to have vehicles that is low emission and lightweight. And then you can talk about the safety perspective, but the people you need to protect in a city is the people walking, the pedestrians, and maybe two-wheelers, people doing their own commute and working and living in the cities. So instead of like clogging bicycle lanes with cargo bike, why don't we move out in the, because we have quite big streets. We are a car first world at the moment. So try to utilize that infrastructure with vehicles that are much more sustainable and much lighter for the safety and the health of the citizens. I think that is where the discussion should be, and partnerships, of course.
So where would you say the discussion is at the moment? If I turn that question on you, are we focusing on the wrong things?
No, I think the discussion at the moment is how can we satisfy the market with as fast deliveries as possible, and how can we make as much money as possible, even though our business model is not sustainable. I don't want to go into all this venture capital sort of injected into a lot of these businesses is only surviving due to the VCs pumping in money. And that is also why I think the discussion should be long term. How can we foresee short term benefits for the long term goal? And I start to feel like a little bit poetic at this point.
I understand. I think it's interesting where we have the different forums for discussing these challenges as well, because they pop up in so many different areas, and it feels like there's not a cohesive discussion around what you've been mentioning, Christoffer. Yeah. And I'm trying to shape another question here, but the digital infrastructure, I mean, Marcus, you mentioned the vehicles also need to be connected. We need all of the different things moving around in the city to speak with each other. How are you tackling that challenge? How do we start merging with differently owned vehicles? And is that the courier's role, or how do you sort of change? You were saying the perspective, Christoffer, that there are venture capitalists owning one solution and they don't really talk to the others. You're choosing either one or the other. How do we start leveling that playing field? Are you going to be first basically with your approach with the partnerships and trying to make it more like a mutual service? Do you understand where I'm going?
I think so. I can try to give you a thought on that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, what we try to do is create a vehicle that is sort of part of the infrastructure. So we will open up, and I saw there was some kind of comment here about autonomous vehicles. Mm. And we will not do autonomous vehicles now, maybe somewhere a long way along the future, but not for like in the view field I have now. Mm. And the reason for that is we want to open up. Our vehicle is part of the infrastructure. So we want to have players tapping into our hardware and basically be open for any types of mission. Is that some kind of answer on the question?
Yeah, what I'm looking for is basically, are we going more towards white label transports? Because now we're being met by a courier or a service, but maybe we're going more towards
white labeled services, of course, but I think also there will be there's a lot of white labeled products on the market, especially from the Chinese market coming in different sectors. I think kick scooters and bicycles are in many places white labeled products. Mm. That is actually a challenge for us as an OEM. We have quite interesting sort of competitors around Europe that says we are an OEM, and what we see is a Chinese Alibaba product on the market, and they get sort of glorified for their efforts in trying to create sustainable products for the market. But basically what they're doing is importing an already existing product for the European market. Mm. Whilst we try to make vehicles that is easy to interact with from a service provider perspective, but also from a user perspective.
And Marcus, what are your thoughts on this, especially with the developing long-term services and what Christoffer has mentioned? I I mean, what are your views on this? I mean, can quick meet long term, or how are you working?
Yeah, it has to be quick long term for a long period of time. But it's a really interesting discussion, and it's also a discussion based on what initiatives is there on a national level, and what are we doing in the private and in the public kinds of what are the public and the private kinds of initiatives. And I know there are initiatives where cars talking to each other, they're talking to the infrastructure. There are loads of projects out there that everyone here probably are aware of. And there's also something to talk about, some kind of collective network where you send out the information and you can find it accessible. But the thing is that things take so long time, and we need to be, we need to move fast, and we need to do this by ourselves. So what we've started doing is that we have projects together with various actors. For example, Christoffer's company, Clean Motion, where we actually connecting our software directly to the vehicle, so that we could actually monitor the battery capacity all the time. That's just one project. So, and we're taking the steps necessary to come there by ourselves, to be independent of the bigger, some kind of city infrastructure. We try to, as they always tend to be, if you're a small player, you can move fast. You can look at your own interests first, in a good and also in a bad way. But in the good way, I think it's something that could be inspirational for the city planners and for organizations as Drive Sweden and people here, that we could inspire in a way to, okay, how can someone player here model of how this should work, and could we mimic that in a bigger way, to make everyone part of that community? Because it's not only instant deliveries and small electrical vehicles that needs to be part of this infrastructure, of course.
I think that's a great continuation on the question we just got in the chat, which is basically around a unsustainable transport consumption, that we're maybe going a bit too far with being too quick and too customer centric, and not looking enough on congestion and transport efficiency and filling our vehicles to the max, instead of just having very little volume and driving them out quickly. I'm thinking, how can we focus on that? Can we just not look at transport consumption? I mean, how do we start tackling that? Christoffer, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. The only thing we know now is what we're doing is not the way if we just go back even further from this discussion back to what we're actually facing is a climate crisis. And the only thing we know is, if we keep doing the way we keep doing it the same way we've done before, we're never going to reach any target, and everything is going to be very, very bad. So I think the thing is, a lot of people try to replace existing concepts with electrified concepts. I think this is a very, very important thing to if you can take with you something, is that the question is replacing just regular vehicles with electric vehicles, and just try to make a change by that. It's not going to work, because we will not reach the sustainability targets, and we will definitely increase the congestion and so much into it. So the way forward is to look at the whole ecosystem, which we try to elaborate under this hour. And I think it's very important that we talk about all these parts, because through partnerships, we are able to look at every angle, everything from how to load vehicles efficiently, how to cooperate, sharing data and informatics. And that is the only way forward if we're going to reach any kind of target.
Because Marcus, you mentioned that everything needs to be connected. Is that also then the goods, so we know how much goods there is in each vehicle?
Of course, definitely, I would say. And it's interesting to talk. I can see here it's a question about doing a lot of really short and fast deliveries contra, I mean, the traditional ways of load one big truck, do a milk run and drop it off. So I mean, the solution here is not, everything is not like, of course, black or white. There should be the ideal solution is that we have something in between, that we're looking of utilizing the efficiency of milk runs and routes without compromising on the delivery time for the consumer. But to realize that kind of service, you still can't have the 3.5 tons of truck, or where it takes 2 hours, not 2 hours, where it takes 5 to 10 minutes to open the storage and go out and in, and you can't find a parking place. It's not a really efficient vehicle to operate. So we need to have a solution. There is a solution, I'm really sure about it, in between here that we can't really see on the market in terms of types of transportation and in kinds of how you choose to optimize the deliveries. And I think it's also really interesting to look at the deliveries that they really demands heavy transportation. For example, like Christoffer mentioned to me some days ago, he got a new washing machine, and I mean, we can't take that on a bike cycle, but maybe we can take that in Clean Motion's new vehicle or other type of vehicle. But things are heavy, and people still need help with those things as well. And I don't think that maybe I don't want instantly a washing machine tomorrow, but if it's broken, I for sure want it fast. So there's a lot of topics to explore here. I mean, and I think for sure we will move more towards the instant behavior of the consumers.
And Christoffer, we have a minute left. What would you like to comment?
I think it's funny doing Steve Jobs references, but when he launched the iPad, he had a computer and a cell phone, and there's something in between. Isn't that what we're talking about? Even for vehicles, something in between, connectivity, something in between, micro hubs in between. So maybe the topic should have been what's in between. I don't know.
I think that's a great summary today. So thank you so much, Christoffer. Thank you so much, Marcus. It's been a pleasure talking to you today. And thank you all of you who has asked questions and for your presentations, Christoffer and Marcus. Thank you. Yeah. And have a great Friday and a great weekend to all of you listening in, and take care.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.